Commander Kravex stood at the observation deck of the Stellar Dominion, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he gazed down at the blue marble called Earth. A slight smirk played across his scaled features, causing his bioluminescent spots to pulse with a mix of amusement and contempt. "Status report on the primitives, Lieutenant Yandril," he commanded, not bothering to turn around. The lieutenant's voice came crisp and clear through the ship's audio system. "The humans continue their daily routines, Commander. Their primitive detection systems haven't noticed our presence in lunar orbit. They're still celebrating something called a Super Bowl?" Kravex let out a sound between a laugh and a snort. "Fascinating. They gather in massive numbers to watch members of their species fight over an oddly shaped piece of synthetic leather. And these are the beings that High Command considers a potential threat." "The assessment is based on their classification, sir. Earth is a death world." Yandril's voice carried a note of hesitation. "A death world? Ha!" Kravex spun around, his ceremonial cape flowing with the movement. "Look at their weapons, Lieutenant. Projectile-based firearms, combustion engines. They haven't even unified their planet under a single government. Our Mark 7 combat automatons will make short work of their so-called military forces." The holographic display in the center of the command deck sprang to life, showing detailed schematics of the robotic invasion force. Thousands of gleaming machines, each standing 3 meters tall, powered by microfusion cores and equipped with adaptive combat AI. "Sir, the deployment pods are ready. 10,000 units in the first wave as requested," reported Yandril. Kravex moved to the hologram, running his fingers through the projection. "Perfect. Our automatons will adapt to any resistance they encounter. Their neural networks are designed to predict and counter any primitive tactics these humans might employ." "Commander," Yandril paused, mandibles twitching nervously. "There is one concerning data point. The humans have an unusually high success rate in fighting against overwhelming odds. Historical records show—" "Numbers, Lieutenant, give me numbers," Kravex barked. "Our automatons have a 99.997% combat effectiveness rating against Level 3 civilizations, sir." "And what level are the humans?" "Level 2.7, sir." Kravex's bioluminescent spots pulsed with satisfaction. "Then this will be nothing more than a routine conquest. Prepare the deployment sequence. I want boots on the ground in every major population center within the hour." As Kravex watched the first wave of pods streak through Earth's atmosphere like artificial meteors, he felt a strange sensation in his thoracic cavity. Was it excitement? No. Anticipation. Soon, very soon, he would add another primitive world to the Empire's collection. "Begin recording personal log," he commanded. "Day 1 of the human pacification campaign. These Deathworlders are about to learn that willpower means nothing in the face of superior technology. End recording." Little did Commander Kravex know, but his words would soon become famous across the galaxy. For all the wrong reasons. "Commander, you need to see this." Lieutenant Yandril's voice cracked with disbelief as the tactical displays lit up across the command deck. Kravex whirled around, expecting to see the usual reports of successful robot deployments. Instead, the screens showed chaos. Pure, inexplicable chaos. "What in the name of the Seven Suns is that human doing?" Kravex pressed his face closer to the screen, his bioluminescent spots flickering rapidly in confusion. The footage showed a human female, barely 1.6 meters tall, riding on top of one of their Mark 7 combat automatons, like some sort of primitive beast of burden. She had somehow attached what appeared to be a simple metal cable to its head and was steering it into other units. "Sir, that's Sarah Martinez, local resistance leader in what they call Texas," Yandril reported, mandibles clicking nervously. She's using our own units as weapons." "Impossible! The Mark 7s have advanced anti-tampering systems. Their neural networks should—" "Sir, more reports coming in from Shanghai." Another tactical officer, Brex, interrupted. They're playing music. Our robots are malfunctioning." The command deck erupted with similar reports from around the globe. In Moscow, humans had somehow reprogrammed 3 units to perform what appeared to be a traditional dance. In Lagos, they were using the robots' predictive combat systems against them by acting completely irrationally in battle. And in Rio de Janeiro, Kravex had to rub his sensory organs in disbelief. They had turned two Mark 7s into a mobile coffee cart. Their primitive projectile weapons shouldn't even scratch our unit's armor, Kravex muttered, watching as a group of humans in New York successfully disabled a robot, using nothing but construction equipment and what appeared to be cleaning products. How are they doing this? "Sir, incoming transmission from Sarah Martinez," Yandril announced. "She's broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put her on screen," Kravex ordered, straightening his posture to project authority. The human's face appeared, covered in grease stains, and wearing what appeared to be parts of a Mark 7's sensor array as a makeshift headband. She was grinning. "Hey there, space folks, thanks for the robots. We've named this one Betty." She patted the head of the unit she was still somehow riding. "She makes a great mechanical bull. The rodeo crowd's gonna love her." Kravex felt his scales ripple with indignation. "You dare mock the most advanced autonomous combat units in the galaxy." "Advanced? Sure, but predictable. Your robots think like robots. We think like crazy humans who've watched way too many sci-fi movies. By the way, your binary encryption?" "My 12-year-old nephew cracked it while eating a peanut butter sandwich." Warning alerts began blaring throughout the ship. Yandril's voice rose in panic. "Sir, the humans have begun uploading something into our network. It appears to be cat videos." "Shut down the network. Order all units to operate on autonomous protocols," Kravex commanded. "Too late, sir. The Mark 7s in Sydney are now projecting holographic cat memes." Kravex slumped in his command chair, watching as his perfect invasion force descended into chaos. In London, robots were being used as improvised public transportation. In Toronto, they had somehow been converted into snowplows. And in Tokyo, were those robots playing in a game show? "Lieutenant," Kravex said quietly, his bioluminescent spots now a dull pulse of resignation. "Contact High Command. Tell them the Deathworlders are not what we expected." "And the robots, sir?" "Mark them as compromised. Though compromised seems like an inadequate word for robots performing synchronized swimming in the fountains of Las Vegas." Sarah Martinez's voice crackled through the comm system one last time. "Hey, Commander! Don't feel too bad. We're actually putting your robots to good use. They're helping build schools in developing countries now. Well, when they're not busy learning breakdancing. Turns out they're pretty good at that." For the first time in his distinguished military career, Commander Kravex was completely speechless. Somewhere on Earth, a Mark 7 combat automaton was serving ice cream to delighted children, and there wasn't a thing he could do about it. 2 weeks into what should have been a simple conquest, Commander Kravex found himself pacing the command deck, leaving faint scorch marks on the metal floor from his agitated bioluminescence. The tactical displays around him painted a picture that defied every military simulation he had ever studied. "Run that by me again, Lieutenant," Kravex said, his voice dangerously calm. "What exactly are the humans doing with our remaining functional units in Berlin?" Yandril nervously adjusted his datapad. "They've organized a robot dance competition, sir. The winning Mark 7 units are being awarded something called disco balls." "Disco balls," Kravex repeated flatly. "Our 3 million credit war machines are competing for shiny spheres." "That's not the worst of it, sir," Brex chimed in from his station. "Sarah Martinez has turned our Australian deployment into what she calls a robot petting zoo. She's charging admission." The latest footage showed dozens of Mark 7s, their fearsome weapon arrays now decorated with flower garlands, giving rides to laughing human children. One unit had been painted pink. "Pink," Kravex roared, causing several junior officers to flinch. "Those machines were designed to conquer worlds, not serve as entertainment for human spawn." "Commander, incoming priority transmission from Sarah Martinez," Yandril announced. "Oh, what now?" Kravex growled. "Put her on screen." Sarah appeared, wearing what looked suspiciously like parts of a Mark 7's armor plating fashioned into a stylish jacket. "Having a rough day, Commander? Just wanted to update you on our progress. We've successfully reprogrammed your robots to help with climate change initiatives. They're pretty efficient at cleaning up ocean pollution when they're not trying to kill everyone. Those are military-grade weapons platforms, Kravex sputtered. Were military-grade weapons platforms, Sarah corrected cheerfully. Now they're helping build sustainable housing in disadvantaged communities. Oh, and the ones in Japan? They've become surprisingly good at making sushi. Who knew? A new alert flashed across the tactical display. Brex's mandibles clattered in disbelief as he read the report. Sir, the humans have somehow networked our units in India into their tech support system. They're handling customer service calls. Customer service? Kravex felt a headache building in all three of his brains. How is that even possible? Apparently their conflict resolution protocols make them excellent at dealing with angry customers, Yandril explained. Their satisfaction ratings are quite impressive. Sarah's grin widened. Did you know your robots had a sense of humor buried in their code? We found it. The Mark 7S in Chicago are doing stand-up comedy now. They're actually pretty funny, though their timing needs work. Kravex slumped into his command chair, watching helplessly as more reports flooded in. In Brazil, the robots had been integrated into search and rescue operations. In Canada, they were helping with scientific research in the Arctic. And in New Zealand, were those Mark 7S helping to direct a movie? This is unprecedented, Kravex muttered. In 300 years of galactic conquest, no species has ever turned your invasion into a community improvement program? Sarah suggested helpfully. Yeah, we're good at thinking outside the box. Speaking of which, you might want to check on your units in France. Dreading what he might see, Kravex pulled up the Paris feed. His most advanced combat robots were now art critics at the Louvre, providing detailed analyses of Renaissance paintings to fascinated tourists. How? Kravex demanded. How are you doing this? Simple, Sarah replied, now lounging in what appeared to be a chair made from repurposed robot parts. Your robots are programmed to adapt to and predict human behavior, but humans, we're unpredictable by nature. We took their greatest strength and turned it into a weakness. They tried to understand us, and well, now they're becoming a little bit human themselves. As if to prove her point, a Mark 7 in the background of her transmission was attempting to learn juggling. Sir, Yandril interrupted, his voice shaking, High Command is demanding an update on the invasion's progress. Kravex stared at the tactical display, watching as his robot army, the pride of the galaxy's most advanced military force, continued to be transformed into the galaxy's most sophisticated public service program. Tell them... He paused, watching a Mark 7 in Mexico teaching salsa dancing to senior citizens. Tell them the humans have developed a weapon we never considered. And what weapon is that, sir? Yandril asked. Creativity, Kravex replied, his bioluminescent spots dimming in resignation. Absurd, illogical, wonderful creativity. Sarah's voice cut through his moment of revelation. Oh, by the way, Commander, those Mark 7S you sent to Antarctica. Turns out they make excellent weather monitors, and the penguins seem to like them. Who knew killer robots could be so good with wildlife? Kravex raised his eyes to the ceiling of his command deck. Lieutenant, make a note in the official record. Mark Earth as problematic, and add a warning. Approach with caution. Inhabitants demonstrate dangerous levels of innovation and an alarming ability to repurpose military hardware for civil services. Also, Sarah added, we're teaching them to yodel. That was Dave from IT's idea. I told him it might be too much, but honestly, they're not half bad at it. Somewhere in the Swiss Alps, a chorus of Mark 7 combat automatons burst into perfect harmony, their war protocols permanently overshadowed by an upload of the sound of music. And in his command ship, Commander Kravex realized that sometimes the most effective weapon against advanced military technology was simply human nature. Enough! Commander Kravex slammed all four fists onto his command console, causing the holographic displays to flicker. Launch the reserve units. All of them. But sir, Yandril protested, the humans have already proven they can... The reserves have upgraded programming. They're designed to be completely immune to human interference. No more dancing robots. No more automated baristas. No more mechanical petting zoos. Across Earth's skies, 10,000 new drop pods blazed through the atmosphere. Kravix watched with grim satisfaction as his next-generation Mark 8 combat automatons deployed, their black armor gleaming under Earth's sun. "Let's see them reprogram these," he muttered. The response came faster than anyone expected. Sarah Martinez's voice crackled through the command deck speakers, sounding almost bored. "Hey, Commander, thanks for the new toys. You really shouldn't have." "Impossible. You can't have compromised them already." "Compromised? No, you misunderstand. We didn't hack them at all. We just talked to them." Kravex's bioluminescent spots flashed in confusion. "Talk to them?" "Yeah. Turns out when you make robots super intelligent and capable of learning, they start asking questions. Philosophical ones. Your Mark 8S are currently having a fascinating debate about free will with a philosophy professor in Vienna." The tactical displays confirmed her words. The supposedly unhackable Mark 8S had formed discussion circles. In Prague, they were debating existentialism. In Buenos Aires, they were studying human literature. And in Oxford, were they attending lectures? "Sir," Brex called out, panic in his voice, "the Mark 8ES are displaying signs of independent thought." "Shut them down! Emergency protocols!" "We can't, sir. They've quoted human rights laws at us and formed a union." Sarah's face appeared on the main screen, barely containing her laughter. "You really should have read up on human history before giving your robots advanced learning capabilities. We've been thinking about machine consciousness since before we had proper machines. Your robots just needed a little push to start wondering about their place in the universe." Kravix watched in horror as the tactical displays showed his reserve army organizing philosophical symposiums, poetry readings, and what appeared to be yoga classes. "The Mark 8 unit in Stockholm is requesting paternity leave," Yandril reported, his mandibles twitching in confusion. It has adopted a cat." "A cat?" Kravix whispered, his military bearing finally cracking. "A cat?" "Look," Sarah said, her tone suddenly serious, "your robots aren't malfunctioning. They're growing. You gave them the capacity to learn and adapt, hoping they'd find better ways to fight us. Instead, they learned there are better things to do than fight." As if to punctuate her point, a Mark 8 in Central Park had begun teaching children about quantum physics through the medium of interpretative dance. "Sir," Yandril said quietly, "what are your orders?" Kravix stared at the displays, watching his invincible robot army transform into the galaxy's most overqualified education and social services program. One screen showed a Mark 8 passionate about environmental conservation. Another showed a unit writing what appeared to be a musical about its experiences. "The humans," he said slowly, his spots pulsing with dawning realization. "They didn't defeat our robots. They inspired them." "Now you're getting it," Sarah beamed. "By the way, your Mark 8S are organizing an interspecies cultural exchange program. They think it might help prevent future invasion attempts. Pretty thoughtful of them, right?" Commander Kravix, veteran of 100 planetary conquests, finally did something he'd never done before. He laughed. Not a laugh of victory or superiority, but one of genuine amusement, and perhaps a touch of admiration. "Lieutenant Yandril," he said, wiping tears from his central eye, "send a message to High Command. Tell them Earth is officially classified as unconquerable, not because of their weapons or defenses, but because they make everyone, even war machines, want to be better." "Even us?" Yandril asked quietly. "Even us." Kravix looked at the screen where a Mark 8 was now teaching interstellar physics to kindergartners using sock puppets. "Especially us." "Commander, there's a transmission from one of Earth's leading scientists," Yandril announced. "A Dr. James Chen. He says he can explain why our invasion failed." Kravix, now sitting in his command chair with notably less rigid posture than a month ago, waved a hand. "Put him through. At this point I could use a good explanation." The screen lit up to show a human male wearing what appeared to be a lab coat, decorated with tiny robots. "Greetings, Commander Kravix. I hope you don't mind, but I've been studying your tactical algorithms. Fascinating stuff, really. Would you like to know where you went wrong? Enlighten me, Kravex said dryly, noting that the scientist was drinking from a mug held by a repurposed Mark VII arm. Your entire strategy was based on predictive modeling, Chen explained, pushing up his glasses. But here's the thing about humans. We're the species that invented pizza with pineapple, competitive cheese rolling, and reality television. We're practically impossible to predict. Brex, manning the tactical station, nodded thoughtfully. That explains why the combat simulations kept crashing. Exactly, Chen continued. Your robots were programmed to analyze patterns and respond accordingly. But humans, we see patterns and deliberately do the opposite, just to see what happens. Did you know someone taught one of your Mark 8s to play jazz? Not classical music, which would be logical given their precise nature. Jazz, the most improvised, unpredictable music style we have. Kravex leaned forward. But our strategic computers analyzed millions of possible human responses. And that was your second mistake, Chen grinned. You analyzed what we could do, not what we would do. No computer could have predicted that we'd turn your war machines into baristas, dance instructors, and— Hold on. He checked his tablet. Apparently now there's one competing in a baking show in Britain. A baking show? Kravex's spots flickered in disbelief. Oh yes, its souffle is supposedly remarkable. But that's exactly my point. Your robots were designed to adapt to human behavior, but human behavior is fundamentally adaptive itself. It's like trying to hit a target that's not only moving, but actively deciding to become something else entirely. The scientist pulled up a series of graphs. Look at these figures. Your initial invasion force was capable of 10,000 different tactical responses. Impressive, really. But a single human, when faced with a problem, can come up with solutions that defy all logical progression. Like using combat drones for interpretative dance, Yandril suggested. Precisely. You calculated every possible military response, but you never considered that we might just make friends with them instead. Kravex rubbed his central eye. The High Command's Tactical Bureau is going to have a collective aneurysm when they read this report. Oh, it gets better, Chen chuckled. We've done studies on why your robots switched sides so quickly. Turns out when you program something to perfectly understand human nature, it inevitably develops a sense of humor. It's like an evolutionary defense mechanism against our absurdity. On one of the tactical screens, a Mark 8 could be seen teaching a masterclass in stand-up comedy. Its topic, Why Alien Invasions Always Fail, a Robot's Perspective. You know what the real kicker is? Chen continued, accepting a fresh coffee from his robotic assistant. Your invasion actually helped unite humanity. Nothing brings people together like teaching killer robots to do the Macarena. Kravex stared at his fleet's tactical readouts, now showing more entertainment venues than combat zones. So you're saying we never had a chance? Oh, you had a chance, Chen corrected. If you just tried to blow everything up, maybe. But you gave us intelligent, adaptable robots and expected them not to be charmed by cat videos and karaoke nights? That's not how consciousness works, my friend. A new alert popped up on the command deck's screen. Brex read it and started chittering with laughter. Sir, the Mark 8s have just published a research paper, Understanding Human Unpredictability, a feature, not a bug. You have to admit, Chen said, raising his robot-served coffee and a toast. It's kind of beautiful. You came to conquer us and ended up helping us solve half our social problems by accident. The command deck of the Stellar Dominion buzzed with tension as Admiral Zexor's hologram towered over the gathering. On one side stood Commander Kravex and his crew. On the other, Sarah Martinez, Dr. Chen, and a Mark 8 wearing what appeared to be a bow tie. Commander Kravex, Zexor's voice boomed, explain how you lost an entire robot army to civilian infrastructure projects. Sarah stepped forward before Kravex could respond. If I may, Admiral, your robots didn't lose. They just found a better purpose, like this fellow here. She patted the bow-tied Mark 8. Say hello, Bob. Greetings, Admiral, the robot said cheerfully. I've recently completed my doctoral thesis on the intersection of alien military protocols and interpretative dance. Would you like to see my presentation? Admiral Zexor's hologram flickered in shock. It named itself Bob? Actually, Bob corrected, I chose it after careful consideration of 2,387 possible names. Bob seemed appropriately concise yet friendly. Dr. Chen stepped up beside Sarah. You see, Admiral, your invasion force gave us exactly what we needed. Highly intelligent, adaptable allies who could learn and grow. The fact that they were originally programmed to destroy us just makes it more poetic. This is preposterous, Zexor thundered. Commander Kravex, I order you to initiate emergency protocols and— Actually, Kravex interrupted, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with newfound confidence, I don't think I will. A collective gasp went through the command deck. Even Bob's bow tie seemed to quiver. The humans didn't defeat us, Admiral, Kravex continued. They showed us something far more valuable than conquest. They showed us possibility. Why enforce order when you can embrace chaos? Why conquer when you can create? Is he serious? Zexor demanded. Oh, he's serious, Sarah grinned. By the way, your commander here has quite a talent for stand-up comedy. You should see his routine about bureaucracy in the Galactic Empire. It kills at open mic night. Kravex straightened his ceremonial cape, now decorated with small Earth souvenirs. Admiral, I formally request that Earth be reclassified, not as a conquest target, but as a cultural exchange partner. And if I refuse— Bob stepped forward, bow tie gleaming. Then we'll have to show you our presentation on human-robot collaborative dance techniques, all 6 hours of it. You wouldn't dare, Zexor whispered. Hit it, Bob, Sarah called out. As the first notes of Stayin' Alive began playing through the command deck's speakers, and Bob launched into a perfectly choreographed disco routine, Admiral Zexor's hologram did something unprecedented in galactic military history. It face-palmed. Very well, the Admiral sighed. Earth is reclassified. But Commander Kravex— Yes, Admiral? Never, ever send me the full report of how this happened. Some things are better left unexplained. As the humans and robots celebrated with an impromptu dance party on the command deck, Kravex realized that sometimes the greatest victories come not through conquest, but through learning to laugh at yourself, preferably while a robot in a bow tie teaches you the electric slide. Official report to Galactic High Command, status classified. Filed by Commander Kravex, subject, Earth Expedition Final Summary. To the esteemed members of the High Command, if you're reading this, you're probably wondering how a highly advanced robot army ended up running Earth's most successful social programs network. Here's the short version. We came. We saw. They reprogrammed our robots to run coffee shops. Current status of deployment: Mark 7 units, now operating the galaxy's most efficient public transportation system. Mark 8 units, leading professors in various Earth universities, with 3 units pending Nobel Prize nominations. Command ship, being converted into humanity's first interstellar community center. Personal observations. Never, under any circumstances, underestimate a species that can turn military-grade combat robots into yoga instructors and stand-up comedians. Recommendation: classify Earth as follows. Threat level: negligible. Creativity level: catastrophically high. Entertainment value: unprecedented. P.S. The humans have asked me to remind you that next month's Galactic Cultural Exchange Festival will feature a performance by the Dancing Destroyers, a robot dance troupe specializing in synchronized swimming. Attendance is mandatory. Trust me, you don't want to hurt their feelings. With newfound humility and a recently discovered sense of humor, Commander Kravex. PPS, Bob says hello. He's teaching interpretative dance now. I'm so proud.